Warhammer is a very famous game franchise, which I never got into. However, when I saw a video game was being released, I thought I'd check it out. And ever since, I can't get the bland taste out my mouth. What an awful, disappointing game it was. But what made it worse was I seemed to be in the minority here. No one agreeing with me. And I just had to wonder, why? And so instead of finding out why you may like the game, I'm going to give you the reasons why I don't like the game. The story is not so memorable, and was not why I was coming to play the game. Essentially, it's a series of events which have no link to the next event. It follows Leandros going down to the Forge World Greya and trying to stop an orc invasion. Along the way, you'll meet up with your fellow teammates as you move along, things will happen, shit will go down, and all in all, that's about everything I can recall. I remember you get betrayed, which wasn't the biggest of shocks since I didn't care, and I remember chaos show up, but I still didn't care. I started to wonder if I'd enjoy this if I was a Warhammer fan. But then I decided the game can't have that as its excuse. It must go for fans, which it does well too, and who will love the references. And non-fans, which will not get what is happening, and really, why can't you include a codex in the game, so I can at least see what all this stuff actually is. So a sloppy attempt at story, but I can let it pass. Overall, the story will last you 10 to 12 hours. Whether you'll want to stay around for that whole time, I don't know. I know I didn't. Gameplay is... Now I know what a lot of you are going to say. You don't understand. Warhammer came before all that stuff. It's the grandfather of these games. Yeah, well, maybe that's so. That, however, does not give you the right to be as lazy with the game as you can possibly get, and essentially copy everything Gears of War does. Now believe me, I am not a fan of Gears of War. I was kind of Gears of War'd out and Gears of War 2. But the fact this game rips it off so much and brings nothing new to the table is an utter insult. Ultimately, there's no variety. None at all. You must switch between shooting and melee to survive. Shooting is very simple as you can imagine, yet the controls feel a tad too stiff for me. But that's just my opinion, you might find it fine. It's all down to your own preferences. Where I really get annoyed is in the melee stuff, as you have to do this, and it's as repetitive as you can get. To kill, you press square, or X, as much as you can. To stun, you press triangle or Y. This may seem fine, until you find out you must do these gory finishes to regain your health. What? Why do I need to do that? What need is there to do that? And worse yet, while you do these finishes, which by the way, you will see all of them very quickly, you can still be hurt. Why? Why is there any fucking need to make me do these and punish me for doing them? It's so bland and dull and annoying, it just pisses me off. Then there's little weapon variety, you'll stick with your machine gun and sword for the entire game. Then there's a few turret sections which are more like target practice than anything, which quickly get on your nerves. Then there's a massive difficulty spike. Most of the game is very easy until chaos show up. And that's when things actually get difficult and it catches you by surprise. That's where I gave up on this pathetic adventure. Gameplay is not worth your time and will ultimately bore you. Oh, and not to forget your brain-dead teammates, who will do nothing to help you for the entire game. Won't say a word that I'm meant to give a shit when one of these guys dies? No, I don't fucking care about these fucking piece of shit Space Marines. They did nothing. They let me die if anything. I welcome their death. Now the game does look very nice, it has a great feel to it, and the characters do represent their model figures very oddly, to the point where they do somewhat look like the figures, and how they move and all that. You've really got to understand, this is the one part of the game I actually liked, and it's really good when you see it. However, the voice acting is subpar. It's not bad, but it's not very memorable. In fact, I can't remember any characters from this game that left an impact on me. It's also worth noting that the enemies aren't the brightest. Their tactic is essentially rush you. Some might debate it stays true to the board game, but that does not mean it works well for video games. Now, I thought this barely average game could hold up with its multiplayer. But no. Not here. The game boasts it has 1.8 billion customization options. What that boils down to is 50 shades of red, and so on. It's not good customization as you have very little arm pieces, just colours. Great. Then there's the typical overpowered weapons, 8 players online, bland maps, and at time of release only 2 modes and 5 maps. That is insulting. Say what you will about Call of Duty, but at least every new game has plenty of game modes and a fair few maps. This is bare bones. Then you have bland things to choose from like jetpacks, which essentially lead to people stunning you from the sky and slashing you to death. Fun! Minigunners, which lead to matches of people sitting down and firing for most of it. Awesome, right? And the typical everyday space marine, which will spend the rest of its life alone, crying. That sounds intense. It won't keep you interested for long, and you'll soon be playing much better games. Rank have made a poor multiplayer effort, clearly. Overall, the game just aspires to blend into the crowd and only wishes to vanish soon. It's like the shy kid at school who no one talks to, then for one day brings in a chainsaw and everybody notices him. Then the next day he comes in with nothing, and people quickly forget about him. But I will not forget about him, since he sawed off my legs. Yeah, I feel this analogy stopped somewhere, but you get the point. I can't forget how bad this game was, which is why I'm doing this review now. It is bland, boring, and meaningless, and anyone who tells you otherwise, just ask, are you a Warhammer fan? If they say yes, don't play the game. If they say no, slap them for liking the game. Good for Warhammer fans so they can get all the little references, not good for anyone else. Trust me.